Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Spyderco Spyopera. Very interesting lockback, or whatever you want to call this, style knife. Thank you so much to Bill, who sent this in for me to take a look at. That's right, Bill. Thank you very much, Bill. I appreciate that. It's because of people like Bill that I'm able to bring you guys daily knife content. It's also because of my generous patrons. Thank you so much for supporting me. There's a link for Patreon right down below. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. This knife will be linked right down in the description so that you guys can check it out if you want to. I've got a lot to say, as per usual. Let's go ahead and get some measurements real quick. Overall length of the Spyopera. This is an Italian-made Spyderco, by the way. Overall length is coming in at about, it's a little more than 6.75. It's about 6.8, maybe. The blade length is coming in under, absolutely under 3 inches, which is great for people who have, you know, issues with blade limit laws in their area. And then the cutting edge is about 2.75. So that's nice. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Rat Model 2. This is much closer to the size of the Rat 2. The Rat 2 is a little longer, but I will point out that the cutting edge is almost identical between the Spyopera and the Rat 2. Maybe a little bit more on the Rat 2, but very close. How about up against the Spyderco PM2 and Para 3? I think a lot of people will appreciate this one. It's definitely smaller than both. But again, cutting edge, you want to compare Para 3 to the Spyopera, it's identical. It's absolutely identical. So there you go. Last but not least, the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and its little brother, the Mini Griptilian. Now, this is definitely closer to the size of the Mini Griptilian, but I'll say this, because of how they have the, you can see here, there's much more space up to where you'd choke up behind the blade. You're not limited by this area right here that's like no further, right? So ergonomically, there's much more freedom with the Spyopera, despite it being pretty much exactly the same size of knife as the Mini Griptilian. So there you go. How about carry profile? Let me close all these real quick. Carry profile up against the Spyderco Para 3. Thickness, we're pretty much looking at the same deal here. The Spyopera's got contoured scales, so in a maybe just the peak of the contouring, it might be a tiny bit thicker, but that doesn't matter to me. I'll take contouring and a microscopic or trivial amount of additional thickness over a flat scale any day. Length and height, it's definitely shorter than both the PM2 and Para 3, but it does have this large hole here. Now, despite it having the hole, you can see here, it's not quite as tall as the Para 3 or the PM2, but it's close, right? So if you don't like that hump, that might bother you. People who carry these knives, obviously it's not bothering them. That's kind of why we put it up against those two knives. Let's go and do a hardware check. You can absolutely get my tools and all of the stuff that I use on this channel every single day. I have reorganized that store, so you can find that down in the My Amazon page down in the description if you want to take a look at my tools and everything else that I use. Let's go ahead and I'm going to guess that these, it's not T7, unless it's a weird one. I'm going to guess these are all T8. We're going to find out. They might be smaller than that. No, they are going to be smaller. The pocket clip screws back here are going to be T8, but these other guys, normally I say, well, we're just going to skip it, but I'm going to go ahead and check it. These other guys are likely going to be T6. Now, there's probably also an adjustment head underneath the screws for the pivot, and I'm going to guess that that's either T6 or T8. So you'll be fine. I don't like T6, but just be careful. I think these look to be a little bit higher quality heads than what we normally see from Spyderco, so you'll be fine. Just make sure you got a quality driver and quality bits and somewhere to put your screws, and you should be just fine. Let's go ahead and measure blade stock thickness on this guy. Get out my calipers here real quick. Blade stock thickness on the Spyopera is coming in at 116 thousandths. Definitely not a thick blade. I think that's fine. What are we looking at for materials? Obviously, we're looking at a steel blade, micarta, and believe it or not, actually titanium liners. I mean, the actual backs, or the lock, the spacer / lock is going to be steel. But yeah, it's got titanium in there. So I don't think this comes in ultra heavy. I'm going to guess this weighs something like 3 ounces, maybe 2.8, but I'm wrong often, so let's find out. Oh, less than that, 2.68. So on this channel, anything under 3 ounces is considered ultra lightweight. Is he not aware that the bug out weighs less than 2 ounces? I thought that was the universal line for lightweight. Whatever. On my channel, it's anything under 3 ounces. This is under 3 ounces, so that means that I'm not really going to notice it. Versus a 2-ounce knife, I'm just not going to notice it. The only thing that might cause some people a little bit of, whoa. Woe is me, the hump on the Spyderco. The only, that width right there, right? But the knife is thin enough and compact enough and light enough that this is going to be a nice knife in most situations. It's not going to be a difficult thing to carry. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And it's also going to be legal in a lot of places. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the meat and potatoes of the review here. We have these contoured sort of, I don't know if is it canvas or is it burlap. It's hard for me to distinguish sometimes, but it is some type of micarta and it looks great. The color on it is not my favorite color. Some people really like this color, right? It gives them kind of a fancy gentleman's vibe. To me, it kind of looks like refried beans, but some, people who are like, oh, I liked that color until you said that. This is all right, right? As far as I know, this is the only color that it comes in. I think it would have been really cool if they offered it in like 3 different colors. This, maybe an olive drab or OD green micarta, and then a gray or a black micarta. I think a gray micarta would have looked excellent. I'm not really sure why they only offer it in one color, but this is fine. It does look sort of rustic, gentlemanly, right? A word that is thrown around on, when those shows that they like fix up homes and then they like, they move a vehicle and they surprise the family, right? The word rustic is just thrown around. It's just flung about. Rustic. I'm always like, why is that tea kettle rustic? I don't understand. What makes it rustic over a regular tea? Anyways. So yeah, this kind of has a rustic, just like loosely gesturing at this. It's gonna have this rustic look, right? And then we have some, the corners and things are nicely knocked down enough. You can definitely feel them, but the contouring here gives you that feeling of, oh, this has been, polished. I don't want to say processed. It's been nicely polished, right? Fit and finish, seating of everything looks pretty good. I did notice, back for whatever reason, well, looking under the camera now, gosh, it looks pretty good. And you can see here, for whatever reason, and everything else about the knife is fine, but we have a larger gap on this side of the blade than we do on this one. Why? I don't know. It might just be the way that everything fits together, because it's pretty close to centered, but that might be part of the reason why it's ever so slightly off. We'll talk about that here in a sec. There's a bit of stick on this guy back here, just a little bit. But it's all right, and if I keep doing it over and over again, it's acting like it kind of wants to wear through. And that will probably happen. I do appreciate that they have crowned this, or radiused the spine of the lock. That's really nice, and it also continues up to the blade. I really like that. That's a nice touch. The inside of this hole here has been nicely knocked down, so it's really easy to engage. So if you're going to, just wheel it out with your thumb or you want to flick it, it's fine. At first I was like, wow, this is impressively smooth. And that's because this thing runs on bearings, which is not common for a, I don't know if we can actually see in there, probably not. This runs on bearings, which is not common for a lockback knife, but I'm realizing that I like that. It feels nice. Like, it's very smooth, and it's also not something, technically I've never experienced a knife like this before. I've handled many knives on bearings, but not a lockback. It does add just enough there where it makes me happy. It's much, much, much easier to do stuff like the thumb flick here. You can absolutely do it, but like the reverse flick with this guy is no problem. There's much less resistance. There's already some extra weird resistance because of the nature of the lock, but with the bearings in there, yeah, it's nice and smooth. It's really satisfying. This is nice. I like that, and it creates this sort of unique feeling with this guy. Ergonomically, lots of room, like I said, for such a small knife. Bring out the griptilian, the mini grip here, which is same size, right? On the mini grip, you're forced down here because of this area, right? So it's like 1, 2, 3, and then my pinky's like, what? I don't like that. You know, make it a 3-finger small knife or make it a, there's plenty of room on a knife of this length to get a full purchase on it. And even though this is not a knife that I'm probably going to be taking out and using really, really hard, it's just kind of I like to have the option to put all of my fingers on there if I want to. Because of the contouring and the space on the handle, it's pretty good. It feels nice. It's not like, oh my gosh, hand melter, right? But it's good. And there's a nice little area back here to be able to, sort of rest your thumb on that ramp. There's no jimping or anything, but it's fine. The pocket clip is the wire clip. So it's like I usually say with a wire clip. You can feel it. I'm hesitant to call it a hot spot because it's rounded all the way around like a paper clip. So I guess if you're squeezing really hard and you're cutting with no gloves on for like 30 minutes at a time, which is not likely something you're going to do with a knife like this, then yeah, maybe that would be a hot spot. But I mean, come on. No, not really. Like I said, we've got 3 screws. Well, one of the screws is for the pocket clip, but it does appear to be holding in that backspacer back here. And we've got the 2 screws for the scales and then probably something underneath for the pivot. So quite a bit of hardware, but not really that big of a deal. The blade is satin finished. Excuse me, let me wipe this off real quick. Satin finished blade. We've got a flat that carries out about 40% the length. The blade looks nice. In fact, really nice. I've been less impressed by some Italian Spydercos in the past. And they're all right. It's not like they were abysmal, right? I mean, it's not like the fit and finish on the Chinese Spydercos has always been like, but no, the Italian Spydercos were all right. But this is much better. I really like how this looks. I'll say that to sort of, to capitalize on this whole rustic look that I'm maybe am making up because I don't really understand what rustic means. I would not have gone with the satin finish. I would have gone with a tumbled finish, and I've been saying that a lot lately. I think that looks better. It would have looked better with the sort of tumbled titanium liners or the more. It's more of a flat, less reflective, right, on the liners, the backspacer. I think it would have looked better. But okay, they went with a satin finish. It's fine. It comes down to a relatively thin edge. You can see the taper there out to the tip, but remember, we're not starting with a super thick blade stock. It's not going to be the most amazing laser beam slicer in the entire world, but will it get you through your regular day, your EDC stuff, or if you're just carrying it to a cocktail party or to church or some more formal event, right? Will it cut open the one envelope that it might see during that time? Well, yeah, absolutely. It's plenty sharp. What's the blade steel? M390. That's great. I think M390 is very well. I mean, like the properties of M390 or the composition of M390 is really properly accentuated on a smaller knife that's not necessarily always a smaller knife, but to me, it's like, yeah, it makes sense. Small knife, you're not going to really be pounding on this thing, right? Pretty thin blade stock. You got a reasonable amount of cutting edge, and you're going to be able to cut with that thing forever, right? I really like it on my, this is a Lion Steel, by the way. Collaboration between Spyderco and Lion Steel. I still have my very first gift from my wife. If you don't know, my wife gives me a knife for our anniversary every year. This is my Lion Steel TRE, which is very similar to the same size. And I do periodically still carry this to, just, it's a little more tactical, I guess, than this. But I carry this, to formal events sometimes. And I really like the fact that it's a smaller knife with the M390 steel. It just, it works. And I haven't had to sharpen it yet because I just don't use it very much. But I like this size for, situations like that. So I think the Spyopera fits perfectly into the role that it was likely intended. Obviously, it's not like you can only carry this if you're a gentleman. You can only carry it to gentlemanly scenarios. Otherwise, move along, please, sir. No. No, you can carry it for what, like if you want to EDC it, that's totally fine. It's a great EDC size knife, right? It just kind of fits that role. It's got that specific charisma about it. There's a lanyard hole back here. I'm starting to talk too much. Lanyard hole back here, which is fine. It is, for whatever reason, being prioritized over the pocket clip, which is something that makes my blood boil. But yeah, it's not that big of a deal because it's still carrying plenty deep, right? I mean, Seriously, why? Move it back here or get rid of it, right? But okay, it's there. That's all right. Let's calm down. No big deal. Wire clip is fine. I wish that they would do, honestly, for knives like this, I wish they would do like a mini wire clip. Take a note from the Benchmade bug out. The length of that clip works. It's super short. It works really well on a smaller knife too, so you don't have this part of it pushing into your palm, which really, it's not a hot spot. Again, it's just kind of a mild annoyance. Spyderco needs to come up, I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to do. You could keep the same fitment here, just make it shorter. Think about this. How great would that be? Right there, right? Just a little swoopy, right? That'd be fine. That'd be cool. And I think it would be, even that much better for, people who are going to carry this in situations. Like if you're going to wear fitted khakis or something like that to a formal event, instead of having a gigantic paper clip hanging out of your pocket, having something small like this, I think that would be really good. You can let me know what you think about that. I think Spyderco should come up with a shorter wire clip. Or if not Spyderco, somebody should come up with a short wire clip that would fit knives like this, because there's a ton of them that use these same wire clips, right? Lockout. This side of the knife is much the same as the front, right? We've got a fully ambidextrous knife and two-way position pocket clip, meaning, well, left or right-handed carry. It's going to be tip up, which is, in my opinion, the way that you should be carrying a knife anyway. Yeah, so right or left-handed people can fully enjoy this. It is absolutely ambidextrous. Lockout on this guy is completely and totally solid, no question about it. There's a nice snap into the closed position, and it's ever so slightly off-center. That's annoying. Knives should be centered, right? Now, this is maybe has been used just a little bit. Who knows? I think I could probably take the scale off, adjust the pivot, readjust some of the body screws, and it would be just fine. I don't know that it really has to do with the seating of the blade right here, and I don't necessarily know if that's actually a problem. I just noticed, because I go over all these things with a magnifying glass, for whatever reason, there's slightly more of a gap on this side than this side. So maybe that does have to do with the centering, and I couldn't actually fix it, in which case it would just be kind of a fit and finish blunder. So it's something to think about. It might just be a weirdy situation with this guy, right? Or maybe they're all like that. I don't know, but it's pretty close to centered. It's just obnoxious, right? The amount that it is not centered is an obnoxious amount. It won't hurt anything. I'm still pretty confident that I could fix it myself. So, pocket clip's a little bit long. You can kind of feel it. The blade is a little bit tall with the opening hole, right? That's going to bother some people. The color is not my favorite color, but a lot of other people are going to like it. I kind of wish they did a gray G10. What else? Little teeny tiny fit. The lockup actually is working itself out. So it's like 1 and 3 will get stuck a little bit. A couple of teeny tiny little fit and finish elements. Not quite centered, but largely, I mean, my opinion of this is much better than a lot of the other Italian-made Spydercos I've handled, and it's also a really nice. The way that this has all come together, this culminates into a really nice lockback. I kind of thought like, oh, okay, so it's a lockback on bearings. Like, whoop-de-doo. What a weird, why? No, it makes sense. I actually really like this. I think this is great. And here's what I think is the best part. Again, remember, we're looking at nicely finished contoured micarta M390. They did some extra radius stuff on the spine and the blade. Titanium, some titanium liners, right? $175. I'm not going to argue with that price at all. Sometimes I'm like, oh, well, it would be, it's not my favorite thing in the world. It could be $15 to $20 less. No, I think $175 is pretty fair. I think Spyderco did a really good job with this. It's very comfortable, very easy to manipulate and deploy. And even if you want to, you can honestly hold your finger up there just high enough to get behind that blade. You can, and then move your hands out of the way and close it all with one hand. You can absolutely do that, right? This isn't going to be like the most fidgety knife in the entire world, but is it going to work? Is it going to operate the way that you want it to in the setting it was likely meant to be used in? Yeah, I think this is a great execution of something like this, and I think there's a wide variety of people that could get a lot of use out of this. So, yes, $175, I think that's more than fair. And I think this is absolutely recommendable, right? You may not, like the lockback thing, or you may not be your cup of tea, but Yeah, I can recommend this. I think just generally speaking, it's going to go in my most recommended knives playlist, and it's also going to go in my Spyderco knives playlist. So feel free to check that out. Thanks again, Bill, for letting me take a look at this one. I really liked it a lot more than I thought I would. Absolutely. Like I said, this knife will be listed right down below, so you can check it out if you want to. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.